Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So before we start the subject for today, does anyone have any questions about what we talked about or any comments about what we talked about last week? Last week on money and debt. Anybody have any comments or questions about last week? There's more chairs. No? Everyone good on that? So anybody have any questions or comments on what we talked about last week before we move on to the topic today on money and debt? That's what we talked about last week. Nobody? Everybody good? All right.
Well, I have a question.
All right.
What do you think about building debt in order to build credit?
So the only reason you need credit is to borrow money. And the only way you get credit is by borrowing money. So you borrow money so you can have credit, so you can borrow money. So you can have credit, so you can borrow money. Credit is solely based on debt. It's not based on income. It's not based on assets. So you could be worth $1 billion and have a 0 credit score. It's only based on debt. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. The credit agencies, rating agencies are very transparent. They can tell you what the matrix are and how they assess credit worthiness, and it's all based on debt, different forms of debt. Consumer debt, credit card debt, or what they call non-secured loans, mortgages, car payments. And so in order to have a high credit rating, you not only have to borrow a lot of money, you have to borrow money across a number of different instruments. So you have to have a car payment, a house payment, credit card payments, even store payments like a Macy's or a Home Depot card. And the more forms of debt you have, the better your credit score is going to be. And the only reason you need credit is to borrow money. It's the only reason you need credit. You do not need credit to buy a house. You don't need credit to rent a house. I know they'll tell you you do, especially the people who sell you cars on payments are going to tell you that you need to do that because it's good for you. You don't need credit to do these things.
There's an idea going around where you need credit to have a reliable car, a nice house, or phone that will last you.
Right.
And you almost, like for a house, a nice car, and buying something new, something old isn't reliable, isn't
right.
What you should do. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think you should borrow money to buy anything except for a house. It's the only thing I think you should actually borrow money for is a house. Everything else I think you should buy in cash. And you can buy a reliable car in cash pretty easily. Now, the first car you buy is not going to be totally reliable because it's going to be like a $2,000 car. But you can buy a $2,000 car in cash. I've bought them. So I'm not just telling you to do these things. I actually do these things. Okay, you can buy a $2,000 car in cash working the summer. If you went and worked your butt off during the summer, you could put together $2,000 and buy a car in cash. Oh, nothing. Then, for the next 2 years, put aside as if you were paying a car payment. Say, let's put aside $200 a month, okay, for 2 years. So $200 a month for 2 years is how much? Well, two would be what? Be $2,400, $4,800. So now you have $4,800 plus a car that's worth probably still $2,000 because cars don't go down much more than that. That's about the rock bottom. If it runs, you can sell it for $2,000. So now you have $6,800, which you can buy a car with. And then you keep putting your $200 a month in your car payment fund. And then 2 more years, you have another $4,800 plus a car that's probably worth almost $4,800 or $5,000. So now you can buy an $11,000 car. And in 3 times of that, you're buying almost brand new cars with no debt. It's the same difference, only without the covetousness. It's the same thing. You're making car payments to yourself in cash. And if anything were to go wrong, if you were to need money for whatever reason, if you were to have a child and you needed to take your child to the hospital, whatever reason you needed money, you have a fund that has all this money in it that you don't have to buy a car with. But if you buy a car in debt, you can't do that. You have to make the payment. Doesn't matter what else is going on in your life. They don't care. They don't care. You have to make the payment. So you don't need debt or credit to have the things you want to have. You need some discipline and some patience. And if you'll have a little bit of patience and a little bit of discipline, you can have anything you want in life practically and no debt at all. It's just a much better way to live your life. Now, I'm not here telling you that it's sin to have debt. It's not sin. I just think it's pretty stupid. Now, there are things which debt is unavoidable with. So if my child got sick and I didn't have the money and I could borrow the money for their medical care, I'd borrow money from anywhere I could. I understand that. I'm not talking about those kind of things. I'm talking about where you want the newest phone on the market, and so you go into debt with the carrier, with AT&T, and you say, well, they gave it to me. They don't give you anything. If you want a phone, what you ought to do is save up the money, go on eBay, and buy the phone. That's how I buy my phones. I go on eBay, I buy the phone. You know what you find out? You find out, you know what, I don't really want an iPhone 11. They cost $1,200. An iPhone 7 is just fine for me because I can get that for $150. Makes a big difference when you have to put the money on cash on the table, what you buy. And it really helps to curtail the covetousness. So I don't know if that answers your question. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on that?
So you said you would you said you would only borrow money for a house.
Correct. Okay, so the reason why that is because houses are unlike traditionally, and you understand we're speaking generalities. Houses, and generally speaking, are unlike everything else we buy in credit in that they actually accumulate value. So the problem with buying a car in credit, so let's say you go down and you buy a brand new car. Say you spend $30,000. The moment you sign your name on that, that car just dropped like 15% in value. Immediate. The first year they drop almost 20% in value, the cars do. And they drop 10% every year after that. So cars just plummet in value. So you're paying a lot of money just for the privilege of buying a new car, not even driving it. Just buying it is a privilege. And they're charging you a lot of money that you lose it immediately. And almost everything you borrow money on in life is that way. It does not increase in value. Where houses, generally speaking, and with historical data, they increase in value. So that's one difference in it. The other difference in it is that buying a house is only a little more expensive than renting a house. Now, it is more expensive. It's cheaper to rent than it is to buy. And renting is not a stupid thing to do. For many people, it's the right thing to do. Okay? People are going to tell you never rent a house, it's stupid, you're throwing away your money. You're not throwing away your money unless you're not living in it. Okay? That's like saying that buying food is flushing your money down the toilet. Well, technically it is, right? But you are eating it, right? So it's not a waste of money to rent a house. And for many people, for instance, military people, missionaries, people that don't know if they're going to be in that same town for any given amount of time, they shouldn't be buying a house because they're going to get themselves where they bought a house, and it takes a while to get enough value built up in that house where you can sell it and not lose money. That takes about 7 to 10 years before you can sell a house and break even. So if you don't know if you're going to be in town for a certain period of time, you shouldn't be buying a house. You should just rent. But if you know, as much as you can, obviously nobody knows, but if your plan is we're going to live here, and I'm going to live here for the next 20 years, then you should probably look into buying a house. Because you're going to spend only a little more to purchase the house in mortgage payment than you would in rent costs. And so at the end of the 30 years, you will have bought that house, and that house will be worth considerably more than you paid for it. So that's why housing is different. And to buy a house is very expensive. You would basically save for 30 years to buy a house, but you have to rent one while you're doing it. You see what I'm saying? There's no cheap way. Like a car, you can buy a $1,000 car and work your way into a $50,000 or $60,000 or $80,000 car if you wanted to. You can't do that with a house. That just generally is not possible. There are a few options, few times that works out. Somebody's able to buy a piece of land real cheap for whatever reason, put on an old cheap house trailer on it, live in it while they build a house in cash. And that's great. Look, I'm not saying borrow money for a house. I'm just saying that borrowing money for a house is different in many ways than it is borrowing money for other things. Now, don't misunderstand me. It's still risky. This is the problem with debt. Debt is risk. So you could lose everything you worked for if you have debt that's unsecured. Okay? So you want to be very, very careful with debt. Debt can ruin your life. It really can, especially debts that never go away, like student loan debts. Student loan debts never go away unless you pay them off. Every other debt, practically, you can file bankruptcy for. So if you have a bunch of credit card debt and car payment debt and house debts, all kinds of debts, medical debts, many of those, you can file bankruptcy and they just get wiped away. But student loan debts never go away, ever. So they're very serious. Now, they're low interest rate, and they basically let you pay pennies at a time, which just means that there are people who retire from their career and still haven't paid off their student loans. And they're just constantly in that debt. So that's why I strongly encourage you to try to find a way, if you're going to go to college, to do it without debt. And it is possible. Now, like I said last week, and some people took a little bit of issue with that and talked to me about it, but you understand, I'm not saying that any of this is easy. I'm not telling you there's the magic yellow brick road, right, that nobody knows about except for me. That if you get on it, you live, happy and debt-free. That's not what I'm saying. This is a really, really hard thing to do. Credit is so much easier on the front end, but it's a whole lot harder on the back end. Once the debts come due and you're trying to make those payments and you have all the pressure of that on you and you've lost your job or the economy's not doing well and you can't, your house is underwater, your car's underwater, everything you own in your home is all on debt and you can't pay, that just adds tremendous amount of stress to what is already a stressful time in your life. Whereas if you have everything paid off, if you don't have any debt, then you can live on very little money. And if you don't think that hard times are coming, then you're not watching historical trends. A lot of economists are predicting a huge crash in the market pretty soon, bigger than the 2008 crash. And when unemployment goes from where we're right now, historically low, up to historical highs, we're talking about 17% unemployment, and you can't find a job anywhere, and the jobs that are there don't pay enough, and you have all these payments to make and loans that never go away if you have student debt, you're going to be in a tremendous amount of pain. But people that don't have debt are going to be able to ride that out. Now, Christians historically have done very well in bad times, which is one reason why Christians have been persecuted historically. Because people look at Christians and Jews, they look at them, and they see that in bad times, they're doing well. And they would accuse them in conspiracy theory fashion, accuse them of having caused the bad times. That they're the ones that brought on the financial or economic anguish. And they would persecute them. But it wasn't that. Jews didn't cause any of the problems in the world, any of the financial ruins or downturns. Nobody can cause that. That's just those are forces way beyond one person or even one group of people. Not even politicians can have that much power. No, the reason why they did well was because Christians and Jews have historically shunned debt and lived with cash, lived within their means, because Christianity is a belief system strongly predicated upon the idea that covetousness is sin. Wanting things you can't afford is wrong. That's a Christian belief. Now, it's one that we have basically laid on the wayside because we all want things we can't afford now, and people are willing to loan us money so we can go get it. And we're taking them up on the offer. And we think we're being smart. Right? So Home Depot tells you they're going to give you 60 months with no interest. Or Best Buy tells you, 36 months, no interest. Well, first off, they're lying. Okay, they're misrepresenting the facts. It's not no interest, it's deferred interest. You understand the difference? No interest means I give you $100 and no matter when you pay me back $100. Deferred interest means I give you $100 and if you pay me back within 36 months, you only owe me $100. But if you pay me back in 36 months and 1 second, you owe me $100 plus 27% interest compounded yearly. So that means $27 a year for 3 years and then interest upon the interest. So you owe me basically twice. So when you buy something from Best Buy and you don't pay it off in the allotted time, you're going to pay for it at least double. That's deferred interest, and that's what they're offering you. And their interest rates are astronomical. Home Depot credit cards are 27% interest. $27 on every $100 you use it for. That's outrageous. So those are the things they're doing. But when you look at it, you think, well, I'm being smart. I'm using their money for 3 years and paying nothing for it. If you're so smart, why are you buying from them? Look at their house and look at your house. Look at their car and look at your car. Look at their money bank account and look at your bank account. You're not that smart. They are pretty smart. They know how to get money out of people more than they ever intended to spend. Just quit thinking that you're going to game the system. All you're going to do is wind up in a lot of debt and a lot of problems. And like I told you guys last week, I'm not trying to sound harsh on this or judgmental. I am speaking to you as a person who is $60,000 in debt. I know what it means to get into debt. I know how easy it is, and I know how hard it is to get out of debt. I know what it is to go from living on credit cards and buying anything your heart desires to eating ham sandwiches every day at work and drinking water and never going out to eat, because that's what we did to pay off our debt. So I know both sides of the street. And being on both sides, I am giving you the best advice I can, and that is don't get into debt. All right, we need to move on. So today, we're going to talk about school and job. School and job. This is, for most of you, means college, but I'm not only speaking of college. Now, I want to be very clear. I don't have any problem with college. I think college is a great idea. I think university and the whole idea of the university system was a tremendous idea that greatly benefited the world for a long time. In fact, it is at the core of the Enlightenment. It is the fundamental basis of the Enlightenment, especially the American Enlightenment. And so I'm all for college in many aspects, but I'm not unabashedly pro-college, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I just want to be clear that whatever I might say that sounds like I'm poo-pooing or I'm being down on going to college, I'm not. But not every degree is a good degree. Not every college path is a good path, okay? Just because college as a theoretical idea is a good idea doesn't mean every aspect of it is good. So don't misunderstand that. And when I talk about, for instance, manual labor, and I tell you how good it is, I'm not saying that everyone should go do manual labor. My goal for all my kids and for my grandkids is that they be able to rise up into positions that are not manual labor. But there's nothing wrong with manual labor. And you can make a very good life for yourself as a welder, construction worker, plumber, or electrician. These things are not bad. So I'm not against those things. And anyone who knows me knows that's not the case because I work in construction. So I do manual labor every day. And I'm not just there like a superintendent. I actually do the work. I work in manual labor every day. That's what I do, okay? And so you can make a lot of money at any of these things, and that's a good thing. So I'm not against or for anything exclusively. I want to point out some benefits and some cons to everything because you need to weigh. It's a cost-benefit analysis, right? So I want to look a little bit about that. So let's talk about school first. The only reason to go to school is to get a job. That's the only reason to go to school, is to get a job. So if your college major, if your college degree isn't going to get you a job, you're wasting your money. You're just wasting your money. You don't have time for that type of a hobby. Now, there will be a time in your life where you have established yourself economically, and you'll have time to just go pursue interests. And that interest might be to go study basket weaving in some university. And that would be just fine. There's no problem with that. But right now, you don't know what is in the future. So you are sacrificing, if you have a degree that isn't going to get you a job, then you are sacrificing your potential for earning to be able to establish yourself and to take care of yourself. Because that's what this is about. This isn't about you having a big room full of $100 bills that you roll around on naked. This is about you being able to take care of yourself, provide for yourself, provide for your children, provide for your family, for your ailing parents. As they get older, they're going to need help. And you want to have the economic foundation to be able to care for these people and help yourself, and not have to be helped by the state or by the welfare system or by the neighbors or by the church or whoever it is that helps people. You don't want to do that. You want to have yourself well established. And so that means you need to think about a job. You should be thinking about a job the very first day you go into high school. You should be thinking about, what do I want to do? What can I do? What do I want to do to make enough money to really take care of myself? And you need to push in that direction. So that's what a school is about, a job. Now it's also about another thing, and it's about actually learning something. And this is very important if you're in college. I know that in school, one of the tendencies for many people is, it's like, let's cram for the test, pass the test, and then we don't have to know it anymore. That's a terrible approach to school. Terrible approach. You may be how you get better grades on tests, but I have a lot of friends and family members who have college degrees who can't do simple math because they didn't learn it. They crammed for it, and it was a waste of their time. You think, well, I'll never use that again. You're mistaken. You'll use all of those things. And especially, like we talked about before, what you'll especially use about college is the ability to actually learn something. That is the best thing they are teaching you in college, if they're teaching that. And not all college courses do, not all professors are. I mean, college is in a terrible, corrupt state. But let's talk about it in its ideal sense, okay? One of the greatest things about going to college is you learn how to learn. That's what you're supposed to be learning. This is why a lot of businesses historically have wanted to hire college graduates, even if their degree is not related to the job. Because they feel or they think that college has taught them how to learn. And traditionally that was the case. Now, it's not as much the case anymore, and you're going to find that businesses are very quickly in it, and I read reports on this all the time. I follow this very closely, actually, because I'm interested in the subject. But businesses very overwhelmingly are pulling back from college-only requirements because they found that colleges today are not producing people who know how to learn. They're producing only people that know how to pass tests. And that doesn't work in business. Any kind of business. You actually have to accomplish something in business. Or if not, the business goes out of business. And so that's a problem. So if you're going to go to college, first of all, you need to focus on what's going to get you a job. So you need to look at things that are going to get you a job, which means going and seeing what jobs pay, right? Find out what they pay. And I'm not saying you have to go and find what pays the most, but it needs to be what is in your realm of interest that pays the most. So you may not be cut out to be a neurosurgeon. I certainly wasn't. But there are many things you can get a job in, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, that pay pretty well, and college will help you do that if you do it right. And that means really focus on what you are learning there. Don't party. Don't go there to have a good time. It's not about being around friends. Really say, I want to go there and I want to really learn something. I want to take a course and I want to truly understand that material. I may not be able to answer. I may not be able to answer every single detailed question they may give. I may not have great grades on the test, but I will have a good understanding of what they're teaching. So that's what you ought to be doing. Okay, a couple myths about school quickly. So one myth is that any degree is worthwhile. That's not true. There are a lot of degrees that are not worth anything. You need to look in to see what degrees really count. Now, obviously, the big ones are what they call the STEM fields, and if you're predisposed for that, if that is something you're interested in or capable of, you should really focus on those first as your major, the science, technology, education, and medicine. These are the main fields. These are the ones you should be looking at. They're the ones where the degrees really matter. So business management, and if you're doing that or if you have that, I'm not trying to offend you, but that's not really a very useful degree. You can run a business very well without it, but you can't be a doctor without a medical degree. See the difference? You can't be an engineer without an engineering degree. They won't hire you. So these are degrees you have to have in life. Now, some of them I think are a little bogus. I don't agree necessarily with licensing, but that's a whole separate issue. But in the world we live, in the reality we live, you can start an enormous business like Bill Gates did and never finish college. And practically be a multi-billionaire. But you can't be a neurosurgeon if you don't go to medical school. That's the way things are. Okay? So anyways, not every degree is worthwhile. And some degrees are worth nothing at all. They're complete, oppressed women studies, worthless degree. Completely worthless. Oppressed male studies, very important degree. I'm joking. Worthless degree. Worthless degree. They're both worthless. Another myth is that you cannot get a good job without a degree. That is not true. That is not true. In fact, when you look at historical trends, college graduates tend to have a lower unemployment than non-college graduates. Okay, that's historically. That's true. However, for the first time in 30 years, college graduates now have higher unemployment than non-college graduates. This is the first time in 30 years that this has been the case. That's what Forbes reported in 2019. So right now you're at a time when college degrees are not worth nearly as much as they used to be. Now there's a lot of reasons for this. One is because the market is saturated. So the government is pushing college on everybody. Schools are pushing college for everybody. Well, it's like any other thing. If you saturate the market with something, the value goes down. I'll give you an example. There's a lot of people that bemoan the fact that wages are very low proportionally. In other words, if you adjust for inflation, wages are very low today. And people are like, why is that? Well, it's because now women work. That's why. I'm not saying that's bad, I'm just saying that's why. There are 50% men in the country and 50% women. When women didn't work, the labor force, let's say was, I don't know, what do we got? Let's say the labor force was 30 million people. So there were X amount of jobs, and there were 30 million people to do it, and because there's so few people, wages are going to be high. When you put another 30 million people in instantaneously into the workforce, now there's 60 million people, there's not more jobs. So when you have more people than jobs, well then you can demand less money. And wages are going to go in half. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I'm not saying that women shouldn't work. That is not what I'm saying. I don't agree with that at all. I'm just trying to explain to you how it works out economically. Same way with colleges. So when few people, when only one person or two people out of a family would go to college, well, there was very few college graduates. And so their value for their education was very high. They could demand more money. Jobs that needed college graduates did not have a big pool of people to choose from. That's not the case anymore. You got places like the KIPP schools and you got the IDEA schools that their huge claim to fame is that 95% of all their students go to college and graduate. Now that is great. I'm not against that. I'm not telling you this is bad. I'm just telling you, but there's always a cost-benefit analysis to be done. There's a cost to that benefit. And the cost is your college degree is worth proportionally less amount of money. If there's only 10 teachers in your town and they need 12, you can demand a lot of money. But if they need 12 teachers and there's 100 teachers available, well then you're going to have to work for very little money. That's how economics works. That's not a conspiracy from anybody. It's not the government holding people down. That's just plain, simple economics. So right now we're in a time when college graduates have a higher unemployment than the overall workforce. That's where we're at right now. You need to assess that. I'm not telling you don't go to college. I'm telling you need to factor that in to your calculations, which means you need to really have the very best possible degree you can get. You need to be the very best you can possibly be at that job so you can then command higher wages. And that is possible, okay? Okay, so those are some of the myths. Another myth is, I want a job I love, I don't care about the money. That's not just stupid, it is, but it's also a myth because nobody actually believes that. People say, I would do this job for free. Okay, sure, sounds good. No, that's just a way of, that's just an idiom. I don't mean it exactly. You'll find out that the job you love to do isn't nearly as lovely when they're not paying you for it. Any job. I mean, there are a few people who will do a particular job for free. I know they're out there. That is an exception. I've had jobs that I love to do, but when they quit paying me, I quit loving them. You need a job that pays. And a job that pays well will go a long ways to be in a job you love. Now, I'm not saying that if they pay you enough money, you'll love any job. There's some jobs that you will never love to do. And it's not because they're hard jobs. It's not because they're dirty jobs. It's just a job that doesn't fit your personality, right? I would never love to be a door-to-door salesman. I'm terrible at selling. And I don't care how much they pay. I would never love it. I would hate every moment of it. But that has nothing to do, that's just because it's not because I think there's anything wrong with selling. I admire people that can do it. I wish I was that person. But I am telling you that there are a lot of jobs that you would be ambivalent about, but if you could make enough money doing them, you would love them. So don't be looking for jobs you love. Look for a job that pays you enough. That's what you should be looking for. Okay. What do you do if you want to do the things you love? You get a hobby. You go to work and make money and pay for your hobby. You don't try to get a job doing your hobby because they're not going to pay you. If I know that the job I'm offering you, you would do for free, I'm not going to pay you very much because I know you'll do it for free. Why would I pay you? You don't think employers think that way? Of course they do. Absolutely they do. So you need to have a different mindset when it comes to work. So let's talk a little bit about jobs. Okay, let's talk about some high-paying jobs that don't require a degree. College is not for everybody, for many reasons. Some people, it's not for them because of the intellectual rigor. It's not what they're built for. Other people, it's because of the finances, the money of it doesn't work out. So they look at it and say, I can make this amount of money without a college degree or this amount of money with a college degree, and why am I going to spend that much to make less money? That doesn't make sense. That's basically my position for myself. For myself, it was like, why would I go to college, pay all that money, when I can just go to work and in the first year make more money than I would make with a college degree? Well, that didn't make sense to me. So that's why I didn't go to college. But I'm not telling you now, I'm just saying that there is a consideration like that you should make. But there are jobs you can make, you can get without a college degree that pay a lot of money. For instance, media communication equipment workers. So fixing the equipment like in a TV station, radio station, those kind of things, working on electronic equipment. You do not need a college degree for, and it pays $80,000 a year. Now this is an interesting statistic because a mass media degree is the highest level of unemployment of any college degree. So the people getting a degree in media have the highest level of unemployment in the nation. The people working on fixing their equipment are making $80K. Very interesting. Perhaps they should have learned to do both. Got the degree and learned to fix the equipment. Then they could have been working in media with a degree and got their foot in the door. That would seem to me would have made sense. Power plant operators, $80,000. No degree required. There's no gender bias. Men or women can both work in there just the same. Elevator installment and repairman. I know this for a fact. I work in commercial construction. The highest paid people on any job site are the elevator people. And they get all the privileges. Everybody loves them because nobody wants to walk up the stairs. So everyone wants to bring them tacos in the morning. How you doing, my buddy? Right? Lots of perks to being an elevator guy. Everybody loves the elevator guy. They make $80,000 a year. Powerhouse, substation, relay, electrical, and electronics. Working on all the electrical lines and things like that. No gender bias, pay $80,000 a year. And when I say no gender bias, I really do mean that. You may think, no, women, they won't hire them. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Small construction companies, small electrical companies, they don't hire women. They can't afford to. Women don't have the upper body strength, and so you have to team them with some men to help do some of the heavy lifting, causes issues in the crew. So small companies can't do it. They'll say they do, but I'm telling you, I speak from experience, they won't hire women. I'm one of the few small companies that will hire women. Large companies overwhelmingly want to hire women, which is great if you're a woman and you want to get into construction. Because the large companies have 401ks, they have medical, they have dental, they have all the benefits, and they're not going to put you out in the field. You're going to be working in the office, you're going to be a supervisor. So when I say no gender bias, what I really mean is there's an anti-male gender bias in these large companies. So it's very, very good for you if you're a woman. And when you hear me say that, don't think that I'm criticizing this. I know some people may think of me that I'm like hyper-conservative and women ought to be in the kitchen, and you don't know me, obviously, at all. At all. That's not how I think. I don't like biases from an economic standpoint. So I don't like anti-male biases in construction companies because I think it's economically foolish. But I think it's great for my daughter. And I think it's great for you ladies who are in here if you would want to do that. So I'm not against you. You should take advantage of whatever's out there. Okay? So I'm not telling you this is evil. I'm just pointing out some facts to you. Okay, these powerhouse people that fix the relay stations. You see them up on the pole. You're driving there, and your car on payments, and you got tons of debt, and you don't have any money. And you look at them, and you look down your nose at them. They're making $80,000 a year, and they're the ones going to cut off your lights. Detective and criminal investigators, $82,000 a year. Commercial pilots, $82,000 a year. Don't have to have a college degree for any of that. Power distributors and dispatchers, $86,000 a year. Police detectives and supervisors, another field where women can get in very easily because there are quotas. So you have a lot better chance becoming a police detective or supervisor being a female than you do a male. They make $89,000 a year, average. This is the national averages. Many of them make a lot more. Nuclear power operators. Now, this is a great job. I know you may think it's dangerous, and it does have the potential for danger, but historically, it's very low. You're actually much more likely to die working on these power outlets statistically than to have anything happen to you in a nuclear power plant. They're very, very safe statistically. Now, the potential, if something goes bad, well, then you're dead. Yes. You got 4 eyes and 7 arms, you're glowing green, and then you die. Yes. But until that happens, you're making $94,000 a year. So you can console yourself in that. Here's a good one. Transportation, storage, distribution managers. That's a fancy way of saying warehousing. Warehousing. If you're in charge of a warehouse, a big one, you're making $95,000 a year. Now think about what job you would have to get with a college degree to be making $95,000 a year. How much money you'd have to invest in that degree to do that. Commercial master electrician. Be an electrician in the jobs I work at, $92,000 a year. You know what the good thing about a master electrician is? It's actually analogous to a 4-year college degree, but they pay you to do it, as opposed to you paying to do it. You understand the difference? If you go get a 4-year degree in anything, you go to college, you pay to go to college, and then you get a job. If you want to be an electrician, you get what is equivalent to a 4-year degree. You get a master's degree in electrical. And they pay you to do it. They pay for the school, and they pay you to work while you're doing the degree. You're making like $50,000 a year earning a degree. So that then they'll pay you $95,000 a year because you have a degree. It's a great thing to do. Same way with plumber. Master plumbers, you look at them, you think, well, they're the guys with the butt crack. No, they're the guys with a $91,000 a year salary. So they go to your house that's underwater and your cars that are all in debt and you don't have any money in your bank account and you think, oh, the stupid plumber, what a crappy job, no pun intended. But no, they're the ones that are actually making more than you are. Do you realize that there's a book, and you ought to look into it. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door. And in that book, he details who the millionaires in America are. And a lot of them, over proportionally, are electricians and plumbers and welders. They're just manual labor working, electricians, plumbers, welders. They don't own a company, they just work for one. And they're millionaires. Okay. Here's a good one. Sheet metal workers. You ever heard of them? Sheet metal workers? Some of you probably may not have ever heard of them. $122,000 a year to be a sheet metal worker. Interestingly, all these are construction jobs, but construction manager degree has one of the highest unemployment rates in the country. So if you work in construction, you can make up to $120,000 a year without owning a company, just working. But if you get a degree in construction, you have an 8% chance you're going to be unemployed and not be employable. If you want to go to North Dakota, West Virginia, or Alaska as a welder, you're looking at making close to $80,000 a year, and that's if you're not doing the dangerous welding jobs, like welding underwater, which is very dangerous. Anyways, these are all things you can do that pay very well and don't require a degree. So the idea that there are no good paying jobs that you get without going to college is not true. Now, these are not for everybody. A lot of women will not be interested in these jobs, even if they're capable. And most women are perfectly capable of doing them, but they don't have the interest to do them. And that's fine. That's the thing of choice. We all have choice. And many men are interested in doing these, and that's fine too. You're not a sissy because you don't want to work with your hands. I would prefer not to do what I do. I would much rather be a computer programmer. I like computer programming. I can sit there for 18 hours a day and not blink and program. It doesn't pay anything because everybody in India is a computer programmer. And they'll do it for $1 a day. You just can't make any money at it. So I install toilet paper roll holders. That's what I do. Like the little thing that you put the roll of toilet paper on. Some of you have never installed a roll of toilet paper on a holder, right? You don't know you think that miraculously happens, right? So there's this little thing in your bathroom, right? And you put the little roll of toilet paper on so you can do your business with it, right? I install those. You're welcome. That's right. And I make a lot of money doing it. I make more money doing it than any computer science degree would pay me. By far. By far. It's not even close. Now, do I like what I do? I do when I get the checks. I like it a lot. No, I don't like what I do. It's mindless. It's boring. And at times it feels demeaning. It's like, but it pays the bills and it gives me the money to do the things I want to do. So it's a trade-off. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm not saying you have to pursue the absolute most money you can make wherever. I'm just saying you need to weigh these things properly. And don't think that, there's a certain cost that I would have. For me to have a dignified job, I would have to take a huge pay cut. Now, that may be for some people. But I've decided that isn't what I want to do. And that's what's great about our country. We have those kind of choices and we can make them. But you don't have those choices if nobody makes you aware of the other opportunities that exist out there. So that's what I'm trying to do with you. I think that our society has done a great job at promoting college. But we need to not forget that there are other avenues available to all of us, men and women, that aren't college. And you weigh the cost. And college may be the right thing for you. And I'm all for that. But it may not be the right thing for you. And I'm all for that too. The only thing that's not right is not making money. You have to make money. Because like it or not, you can't buy anything without it. They say that, money doesn't buy everything. It's true. But you can't buy anything without it either. So, Okay, I want to give you a little bit of career advice, whether it be school or job. Here's a few things that I've thought of over the years that I would tell myself if I could have listened to myself when I was young. I didn't. No one told me these things. This is why I'm doing this. I wish somebody would have told me these things when I was your age, so I'm telling you. So, if you want to pursue your dreams, don't get married. At least not right now. Too late. No, I'm serious about this. Men and women. Don't get married if you really have a dream you want to pursue. Pursue your dreams first. Get yourself established. You want to travel? I think that's great. Save up a bunch of money, work your tail off all summer long while you're young. Get up a bunch of money and say, I want to travel. I'm going to travel all through Europe. I'm going to travel all of Asia. I want to travel all over the place. Do that. Don't get married. Do it, because you won't be able to do it once you're married. It just will never happen. So if you have dreams, things you really, really want to do in life, do them first. Okay, do them first. Don't be afraid to do the lowest, dirtiest job there is. No matter what no matter what your education level, no matter what you think your job title is, being willing to do the lowest, dirtiest job available, necessary, will take you far in life. Very far. A lot of people are very surprised when they meet me on the job sites that I'm the owner of the company, because I'm not only working on the job site every day, many times I'm doing the jobs that you would pay laborers to do. Sweeping, moving things, carrying stuff upstairs because the elevator guy's mad at me because I don't bring tacos, right? I don't do bribes. Yeah, they see that and they think, well, what are you doing that for? I'm willing to do any job that needs to be done. And that has taken me very far in life, and it'll take you a long ways also. It doesn't matter who you are. Always be willing to do the lowest job there is. Take advantage of any opportunity you ever get to learn any skill. And by skill, I mean something, not knowledge. I'm not talking about where you read a book and you can figure it out. Skill is something that even if you know it with your head, you have to practice it to be able to do it. So for instance, you can know everything there is about music, but not know how to play the guitar, because it requires practice. That's a skill, right? Learn skills. Learn how to change a tire if you don't know how to. When my daughter was in high school, I broke her heart because I made her go work for me for the summer in construction. And she was crying, bawling her eyes out. She didn't want to do that. It wasn't the job she wanted to do. But I made her do that. And she worked all summer long. And she didn't get to be like a lot of women, you think, well, they're in construction, but they're not really doing anything. And there are many like that. That is true. That wasn't her. She had to haul the material with the guys. She had to drill. She had to hammer drill. She had to run in the screws. She had to know the names of everything. And she worked doing what we do for a whole summer, right? And I did that because it's a skill. And learning skills is very beneficial to your whole life. And that's a hard thing to do. Do you realize how hard it is to find somebody willing to take the time to teach you a skill? It takes a lot of time to teach that. And it's annoying and frustrating. So if you have anybody in your life, whether it be your grandfather or your father or your mother or somebody who is willing to teach you a skill, how to make a proper eggs Benedict, that's a skill. Anyone can make an omelet. Omelets are easy. Take everything out of the refrigerator that's not supposed to be green, and you put it in the omelet. Just mix it all up and cook it. That's an omelet. That's not eggs Benedict. Eggs Benedict is very hard to make. Takes a long time to perfect that. To get that egg where you push that fork into it and it oozes out like warm lava. That's very hard to do. How to make a proper souffle. These are skills. There's also other skills. How to install a toilet paper properly. That's a skill. I'm not willing to teach it to you. Tough luck. But maybe there is somebody willing. Find them. If there is somebody in your life who is skilled at something, pester them. Teach me how to do that. I want to know how to do that. Every skill you can possibly learn it. You say, well, it'll never do me any good. You have no idea how far these skills will take you in life and how they will help you. We have a term that has fallen out of favor, and it's called a Renaissance man. Have you heard of this term? Leonardo da Vinci was the ultimate and quintessential Renaissance man. And it was people who were not only artists and musicians and thinkers and scholars and academics, but they were very good at doing things. They were talented, they were inventors, they were creators, they were sculptors, they were builders, they were architects, they were designers. They did all kinds of things. They did everything. And we called them Renaissance men. And that was what the Renaissance was really a lot about, was people that could plant a garden and carve a marble sculpture and think about things like economics. We need to go back to that. We're running out of time, so we're going to stop there. We'll probably talk a little bit more about this next week, a little bit, and then get into the next topic, all right?